So with all the choices of different head sculpts that are out there, what do you look for? How do you choose the correct sculpt for the project you're working on? There's figures made of resin, there's different other materials, there's Mezco sizes, Mcfarlane size, NECA size, 1/12 scale, 1/10 scale. What do you look for? Well, these are questions that come up at any given time or another in the different video episodes that I've done on this customization. Well, it's time to address some of those questions. So let's get started. So with any project that you are consider working on, you need to consider what portrait is going to go with that particular figure body that you've chosen to work on. Whether it's a Superboy like this, what portrait is going to bring out the characteristics that you need to show in your finished product? If it's a Robin like this one, what portrait, what head size is going to be appropriate for that body type that is really going to bring out the characteristics? Even if it's a Superman figure, there's so many to choose from. The portrait size is going to be determined by the body type that you choose. So if you've chosen this Joker body, then you need the appropriate size head that goes around that neck for it to look properly as natural as possible. Even with the current ones, you need the correct portrait to go along with that body. And let's face it, some of these portraits they give us in the original out-of-box product, they just don't cut it. So fortunately, I have in hand the sculpt that's on the left-hand side here, and I have an extra in a different size for us to compare. And the best thing to do is to start on an easy level with two different characters. We're going to start with the Superman character. And yes, these are two different body types as you see here. We're going to focus on one body type and two of those portraits so you can really see the difference in the size of the sculpt and how they fit on the same body. So let's get started. Now, to make this visually easier on both of us, I have already gone ahead and labeled the bottom of the screen with the two different head sizes. We have a Mezco figure size on the left hand side, and we have a Mcfarlane size portrait on the right hand side. Now these two are the same print. One is just larger than the other. And yes, the Mezco head is much larger. It's easier to paint because it's larger. The Mcfarlane figure is much smaller, so the details are going to be much more difficult to paint. However, they both look good. Neither one is wrong. It just depends what you want to see enhanced. Do you want the proper body portions that are on the left? Or do you want the exaggerated body portions that are, or proportions I should say, that are on the right hand side? The smaller head makes the body look bigger. The correctly proportioned head on the left makes the body look like it is part of the entire unit. So it all depends on what your liking is on these figures. Neither one of them is incorrect. Now take a look from the side at both figures. Does it change the look of the figure? Absolutely. One of them looks more comic book accurate, while the other one just looks proportionately accurate. On the shelf by itself, you probably won't tell the difference. But side to side like this, yeah, you can tell. Now let's switch over to a different set. Same body, we're going to switch the head on the left-hand figure. It's the same size sculpt made for a Mcfarlane figure. It looks fine. It doesn't look anything wrong. Does it change the look of the figure? Absolutely. We perceive it now as an older Superman from a different timeline. However, it's the same body type. All he did was switch out the head. But just switching out to portrait can really make the figure look totally different. Again, same portrait on the left, changing the portrait on the right. They are both a Mcfarlane size head. However, the head that's on the right is a Mezco head that's been shrunk down to a Mcfarlane size. However, remember that the body type you choose depends on the head that you are going to use. Because even though it looks good head on, when you turn it to the side, the portrait on the right doesn't fit correctly. As the camera slides by, you'll see a gap between the neck and the head. And you don't want that. It doesn't look good. You want it to look like the one on the left. You want that head to sit tight against the neck so that it looks like it's actually made that way. Otherwise, it just looks odd, or the neck is too long, and you're not going to like your product. So let's switch characters, and let's go into Aquaman. On the left-hand side, straight out of the box, this is what it looks like with the original head. On the right-hand side, we have a customized Mcfarlane body with a Mezco-sized custom-printed resin head. And that is a larger head because it's Mezco, and it fits great on that larger body. Now, what if we take a Mcfarlane size head as the one on the right and put it on the left? Let's see what that looks like, because I do have an extra. It's unpainted. Here it is on the left hand side. It's a smaller head. It's actually a 1/12 scale. But just because it says 1/12 scale doesn't mean that Mcfarlane figures are 1/12 scale. 1/12 actually is a 6-inch figure. Mcfarlane's are not 1/12 scale because they're not 6 inches. They're 7 inches. So that puts them into a 1/10 scale. Definitely not 1/12 because there's a big difference. That head is meant for a 6-inch body, not for the 7-inch. So here, it just doesn't work. So yes, the body you choose determines the head size you're going to choose. Let me prove that to you by doing this. Look at that same head on the right hand side. It looks ridiculous. And besides, I actually broke it attaching it to it because it's a fragile piece of resin. So yeah, resin is strong, but if it's made thin on certain areas, you're going to snap it, crack it, and it's going to be useless. In this case, this is all it's good for show and tell. But look on the left hand side. The body looks okay with that head. I really prefer it on the other. This is the Mcfarlane head on the right with the Mcfarlane body. This is the Mezco head on the left with a Mcfarlane body. It looks good. I like it. I prefer it on the other body because it's larger. Now, my preferred look for Aquaman is using the NECA head on the Mcfarlane body. To me, this is the classic Aquaman, and actually that's the way I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep the Mezco one that I made on the right hand side, but now I got to go in and paint in a little bit more orange on that armor. But here's the big difference. The NECA looks like it's made. I didn't do anything but swap out the head, and it pegs right in there. Perfect fit. Nothing to customize. Well, maybe the color tone on the skin, but other than that, it's not that much more different. Now switching out the heads one more time. NECA on the right hand side now. We have truly a Mezco size head on the left because it's meant for the Mezco body. But I wanted to see how it looks like on the Aquaman body. It looks okay, and the head size fits, but I just don't like the look it gives. I don't see Aquaman in an older tone like this. I don't like either one, actually. Some of you may like it, and you can keep it. To me, Aquaman's gotta look like this. Does that head work on this right-hand side now? Yeah, it works because it's a bigger head, it's a bigger body. Again, that's not the Aquaman that I visualized, so I'm not keeping it. But that is what the Mezco size head looks on the particular body. So, yes, again, the bigger size that you choose or the body type is going to determine the head sculpt size that you're going to need for that particular figure. Switching out the heads one more time, these are two Mcfarlane size portraits for Mcfarlane figures. However, neither one of them works on this body type. The way the neck is designed does not fit into either head. On the Jason Momoa head, it just sits too high even on this smaller body because the head is still too small, so it requires some work in the back to bring it down. Same thing on the right hand side. Although the head is actually in correct proportions, the neck is still too high. And when you swap them out like this, it kind of works on the left hand side. Yeah, the paint, the tone has got to be corrected, but it still doesn't evoke a true Aquaman portrait. And on the right hand side, well, poor Jason Momoa looks totally ridiculous. He looks like a giraffe. So it's not even worth your while working on this one because it just will not fit. It's too small of a head. It requires a Mezco head. So in the end, you're going to have to keep in mind that the body type that you choose is going to determine the head sculpt you're going to need. And you may require a 1/10 scale or a 1/12 scale. Or you truly will need a custom printed head for the work that you're trying to see realized. So it's not going to be a written in stone that you're going to need this particular size head, because the body type may be slender, it may be big and bulky, and it will require a Mezco head, it might require a Mcfarlane head, or truly customized like this Wonder Woman, because this hair doesn't exist. You're gonna slap together 3 different figures to make one. And sometimes these are not custom resin printed. You'll have to actually craft it by hand. Now, unfortunately, we all make a bad choice here and there, and we purchase a portrait that's either too big or too small for the project you're working on. And that usually happens because the description by the seller is not accurate. And 1/12 scale is not straight across the board. Remember, Mcfarlane's are not 1/12 scale. They're actually almost like 1/10 scale. So you need to keep in mind that even within the line of the Mcfarlane figures, the sizes of bodies vary, the neck sizes vary, which means that you'll have to carefully read the description that seller puts down in that listing. And once you've customized yourself to a particular seller, try to stick with them, because then you'll know that their description is going to be accurate to what you are looking for. If you're jumping around with different sellers, you're going to have a continuous problem of a mismatch of portraits. So I hope this video helps you out a little bit. I hope it makes your projects a little more entertaining. If you do like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you here next time.